Exodus chapter 5 sets an important stage for what follows in the book of Exodus as a whole. Here, Moses and Aaron approach Pharaoh with a request. They ask, "Please let us," and by us they mean them and the nation of Israel, "go a 3 days journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to the Lord our God." And as we've been led to expect from Exodus chapter 1, Pharaoh rejects that request. And he continues from here, "That same day Pharaoh commanded the taskmaster of the people and their foreman, saying, 'You shall no longer give the people straw to make bricks, as in the past. Let them instead gather straw for themselves. But the number of bricks that they made in the past you shall impose on them. You shall by no means reduce it. For they are idle. Therefore they cry, Let us go and offer sacrifice to our God. So let heavier work be laid on the men, that they may labor at it, and pay no regard to lying words.'" Anytime some kind of disaster or hardship happens in our local communities or in the country as a whole, you can all but guarantee that some late-night talk show host or some national media personalities or even just some self-important types on social media are going to take to their platforms and scoff at religious types by saying things like, "Your prayers aren't good enough," or "If you've got time to pray, you've got time to actually get out there and do something about all this." Now, just to say this outright, these kinds of thoughts are not the least bit thoughtful. They are neither profound or wise or original, for that matter. They're just cheap, low-stakes expressions of elitist moralism, often being piped off by folks so wealthy you wouldn't believe it and who aren't doing anything either, by the way. It's all just meant to, what? Embarrass people of faith? Well, Pharaoh in this text, who is the biblical embodiment, by the way, of the kind of arrogance that comes from wealth and power, is trying to do more or less the same thing. He knows nothing of this Lord, and really he doesn't care to. He also doesn't care to let Israel go and worship him, not when there's plenty of work to be done for the empire. So instead, Pharaoh actually gets indignant at the very idea that Israel would go into the wilderness for 3 days. He says, they must have gone idle. They've got too much time on their hands if they can plan this kind of religious pilgrimage. And so Pharaoh fills that time with even harsher labor. He forces the Israelites to gather their own straw for bricks while still reaching their daily quotas. And in all of this, Pharaoh just wants to embarrass Moses and Aaron. But he wants to do more than that, too. He wants to embarrass their Lord and this God who they allege can tell Pharaoh what to do with his people. And Pharaoh wants to remind Moses and Aaron and their God that Pharaoh is the one who has power over Israel and gets to tell Israel what to do, and no one else. But this is to suppress Israel's very identity. See, Israel was a worshiping people. Their lives were attached to the God of their father, the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And so to worship this God in prayer and in sacrifice, which is what they were asking to do, is not just to express some part of their identity. It is part and parcel of what it means to be Israel. So Pharaoh's refusal to allow them to do that is not to just suppress their religious liberty, as we would think about it in our country, but to say, you don't need to worship your God because you are mine and no one else's, and you're going to do what I want you to do and what I think you should do, and nobody else. And by the end of Exodus chapter 5, that seems to be exactly how this is going to play out. The people are oppressed further. They don't get to go to the wilderness. But not only that, these very people begin to resent Moses. They accuse him of, quote, making us stink in the sight of Pharaoh. And even Moses, in the end, is left asking the Lord, why have you done this evil to the people? And why have you sent me here in the first place? Kind of looks like Pharaoh is who he thinks he is. But this confrontation is meant to prepare our hearts for the story that's to follow. For these people are not pharaohs, and their worship is not a distraction. These are the people of the Lord God, and God will be worshiped by his people. John Durham says in his commentary of Exodus, this Pharaoh, on the other hand, and I might add, anyone in our day who behaved like him, so unreasonable with men and so stingy with straw, is about to be shown up before Yahweh as no more than a man of straw. See, the kings of the earth can set themselves against the Lord and his anointed all they want to. But as Psalm chapter 2 guarantees, it is the one who sits in the heavens who always gets the last laugh.
Sooner or later, gotta cut you down. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.